They looked great. We'll see how they do as OG.Seed were able to first pick Rubik as it was left out of the ban phase this time around. Thunder Predator, they will take the puck for themselves. And what else? You don't have the Batrider or Clock to take this time, so they'll have to change things up completely on this Dire side. They'll have a think about it. Ooh, hello, the Pango comes out. You gotta love the Pango, John. I mean, it's a great hero in terms of the team fight. Rolling Thunder just does so much. Of course, Swashbuckle is very annoying to play against, and OG.Seed, they won't even think about it. They go straight into the Faceless Void after they see the Pango puck.
Yeah, there's a lot of potency from both sides here. I like the Void pick for OG.Seed. I just tend to like seeing Void. It does dictate that there is a bit of a pace to the game you play for OG.Seed, so hopefully enough they play around that Chronosphere quite well. I think that Rubik first pick is going to allow them to have a lot more flexibility in the laning phase into team fights as well. A lot of good spells to steal for OG.Seed from the puck, from the Pangolier. All of those can work quite well against Thunder Predator as well. So we'll see just how far they can push that Rubik. Thunder Predator with a Puck Pangolier. That one is a bit more flexible. We have seen some Pangolier support very, very rarely. Like the prioritization has been to have that on core, but the possibility is there for Thunder Predator to perhaps throw a curveball, switch the roles around. Still, it does look like we are looking at a core puck, support puck this time around, or perhaps they could both be cores as well. In this case, it could work out. Like Pangolier in the offlane is pretty good. Puck down mid is pretty decent as well. So the flexibility from Thunder Predator is good. It's something that they can work to their advantage as the draft unfolds. And of course, if these aren't supports, if neither one is going to be a support, you have a lot of open space in your second phase of picks to see how OG.Seed is actually going to tie up their drafts. You already know the voids there. You can get something that counteracts that void a bit better. You can go for something that can just stop him in that chronosphere quite nicely. Something like the Earthshaker can break up the chronosphere quite nice. If he's outside, just toss it out. And the void can kind of get himself stuck in a spot. So that's something to consider as well for Thunder Predator.
Well, we'll see the final ban out now. The Wyvern is the ban from Thunder Predator. Surprisingly enough, I thought you'd want the Wyvern if you were Thunder Predator, but it looks like they don't want to have to play it or deal with it up against OG.Seed. Well, third pick, a bit more to be shown to us from this Thunder Predator side. Of course, last game around they did third pick their POS 1 Gyrocopter. I wonder if they even bother going back into that Gyro. They'll actually go into the POS 5 Lich for now.
I like that. I like the Lich in this case for Thunder Predator. I think there's a lot of value in having it against the Void. You just kind of throw a bit of a spanner in the works against this Chronosphere. And I like how fast the draft is going for Thunder Predator. They go straight into the Gyrocopter right after. So it does look like we are going to be looking at either a support puck or a support pango with a Lich. You've got that Gyrocopter coming back in for Thunder Predator, which wasn't, the most crazily farmed Gyrocopter, but he did provide that nice mid-game core that just kind of comes online with a couple of cheap items and just contributes to these fights. OG.Seed, the Grimstroke coming out is potent. It does allow the Void to have a bit more damage in that Chronosphere as well. It will open up the offlane possibilities quite well. I think Doom becomes a very viable option when you have that Grimstroke. OG.Seed does pick up the Kunkka first, so that looks to be quite possibly a mid Kunkka for the most part. That is fairly potent. It does give them a lot more to work with in that Chronosphere, so they are tying it around quite nicely with this kind of team fight oriented draft coming out from OG.Seed and Thunder Predator. It's not quite as heavy. I mean, they have some great team fight as well, but there's nothing that's really hard control, right? The best thing they have is the Dream Coil, which should help to set up for the Rolling Thunder, I suppose, but nothing that can really keep people in their place. Whereas OG.C, they've got the Faceless Void, they've got the Kunkka Boat to lock you in, they've got the Torrent as well. On top of all of that, a bit more consistent in actually keeping people still. So OG.Seed is looking a bit better in terms of 5v5. I think Thunder Predator does have a lot of potency as well. I think the deciding factor is in this case, if Thunder Predator can actually split their EXP up quite nicely. These are some fairly greedy heroes. I think the Pangolier and the Puck raise that issue, but we just saw them run a dual lane with Clockwork Batrider and still hit their timings. So if there's a team that can run EXP hungry lineups, I believe Thunder Predator is probably one of them that can still hit their timings.
Oh. An Ogre Magi comes out. That appears to be a core Ogre. It's something we don't get to see very often in the pro scene, John, but it's going to be a pleasure, I'm sure. Pos 3 Ogre with Grimstroke does seem fairly potent. Pos 3 Ogre in general is quite hard to deal with, right? It's just this tanky core that keeps running at you, buffing their whole team. Thunder Predator, they'll respond with an Abaddon. But I do like this from OG.Seed. I think it's very, very different, but I think it may also work.
Yeah, you've got a lot of value from that Ogre as well, because you're going to be buffing up that Faceless Void. You're going to have potentially double stuns coming out, and if you're lucky with a roll, that's going to be bouncing around through that Soulbind. So there's a lot of value for OG.Seed with that Ogre Magi pick. It does allow them to come in line a bit faster as well. It doesn't take too much farm for the Ogre Magi to be a menace. Of course, the core Ogres tend to rush something like the Midas if their lane is going well. We'll see if that's the case for OG.Seed. Thunder Predator tied their draft up with the Abaddon. And we've seen that hero again in that last series. It's just a really tanky hero to have right in front. You've got a nice purge to get control away. And it's just a nice way for Thunder Predator to toss someone in front. It comes online fairly quick. It does maybe need one mid-game item or so, but nothing too greedy. And it's going to be interesting to see just how far Thunder Predator pushes the aggression this time. They've got the potential for it, but it's definitely not as in your face as it was in the last game. You don't have that natural initiation from something like the Clockwork, and you don't have that early power spike with the SF. So we'll see just whether or not Thunder Predator can keep that same pace up for game number 2.
Gonna find out very soon. Of course, one thing I did notice, John Sibby, he's not having the Ogre Arcana on, which is a bit upsetting. Not sure what's going on there. But,
I agree with his purchasing choices, though. I have to admit.
Really, you don't like it?
I mean, it's not that I don't like it. It's just that it's a bit ostentatious. You know, it's like, yeah, you get my drift. Like, it's just a bit noisy visually for me. Like, I'd actually, I'm an ogre player. I have a simple mind. I play ogre for a reason, and I would get confused by seeing that Arcana. I wouldn't think I'm playing ogre. I'd be wondering where's my hero. No, I visually can't read it because I'm not that smart. So I appreciate it because it would confuse me while we're casting because I can't see. Like, as you know, I have no eyes. Like, I can't see.
Some very disappointing words coming out from you, Jonathan. It's beautiful Arcana. I think it's beautiful, but
no, it's fun. It's fun. It is fun, but I don't know. It's just it doesn't hit the chord for me. I don't know why. It's no IO Arcana. You know what I'm saying?
I get you. I get it. Nevertheless, we'll see how CB does perform on this core Ogre. Again, it is a very, very tanky hero that it doesn't necessarily dominate the lane, but it's also very hard to stop this hero from just farming and, you know, getting whatever else it needs. But I kind of wonder, what item build do you go for on this core Ogre? Like, you can already see the phase boots into the Soul Ring. Fair enough, pretty standard stuff. What happens after that, though?
If the lane goes well, you rush the Midas. That is how core ogres tend to go, like, based on experience.
Almost dying. Fairy Fire will not be good enough. MJZ at the Frost Blast does commit it and does get the kill. And this will be first blood in pretty much the exact same spot as game 1. But Thunder Predator are the ones to return the favor. OG got the first blood last time around. And now Madara forced to take a lot of damage. They even get the Curse of Avernus off. He will time walk. He'll have to time walk away with half HP, and MJZ will rotate around, forcing the TP out now. And that is a disgusting start if I've ever seen one for a Faceless Void.
Oh yeah, not going to be a good time for Madara. He is forced to, well, at the very least, Pexu does give him some more tango, so he's not going to be missing out on too much still. It'd be a nice little start here once more for Thunder Predator. And it does look to be a very interesting matchup on the lanes, especially that mid. Pangolier up against Kunkka. Kunkka tends to have a good time regardless, but we have seen Pangoliers kind of pull away in this matchup at least once before.
Can be pretty dangerous, these mid Pangos. Especially once you get the lucky shot up. Like, just getting disarmed constantly by this Pangolier when you're trying to CS can be so frustrating. Of course, the Kunkka, who kind of relies on using that Tidebringer to really secure that CS, is not going to enjoy that disarm, and we do see it there. Still, Leo style will have to be just as careful as Chessie lands a very, very nice torrent. Leo won't mind too much. He just keeps harassing away. Go south. Chessie trying to go for the cancellation. He will not get away with it. Leo back up to 4 HP, but man, that is a lot of damage from one Tidebringer. That's only level 1 as well.
Yeah, it does get a bit ridiculous, and it will keep getting ridiculous as the lane goes on. Still, that mid lane is fairly even, 8-0 for Leo style, 7-2 for Chessie. Not going to be too wild just yet.
Of course, up at the top lane, you do see MNZ on the gyrocopter again. He'll have MJZ there, but MJZ going to be in trouble now as he does get fire blasted up. Sibby blocking the way, and the Frost Shield won't block enough damage to allow him to survive. They almost end up getting a trade in Z-Freak, but he'll salve up now and be perfectly fine. It's a pretty decent start for OG.Seed in this off lane. Sibby's going to enjoy that gold very much.
Definitely. That's one of the pros with something like the Ogre Magi off. It's very hard to really bully out the Ogre. You can kind of target the support in this dual lane, but the Gyrocopter just can't close the gap too well with the Ogre Magi standing in between. The Lich is always in threat of being pulled away by something like the Rubik, so you're never going to be too comfy enough to try to counteract this aggression fully from OG.
At the very least, MNZ still able to get some decent farm, and I say that he's on 5 last hits, 1 deny. It seems like Sibby's really been denying these creeps very, very well. As I say that, bot lane, Matthew, going to be chased down now by Madara. Phase shift will be there, but Madara is still chasing him down with an Orb of Venom. And that'll be a very, very easy kill for the Faceless Void. And immediately just TP back down to the lane and keep farming up. And I was wondering when the tip was going to come in. There it is.
It's a good start for Madara. You know, it's a big contrast to game number 1. He's having a good time here on his Faceless Void. 15-0, number 3 in terms of last hits, and doesn't look like he's being troubled too much by the Faceless Void puck, although a bit aggressive there.
Curse of Avernus is very, very hard for the Void to deal with, just that inbuilt silence, and he doesn't have Time Walk for another 12 seconds or so. He does manage to salve up. Peksu probably won't be able to run away from this. He does get silenced, and Frank, do you want to keep diving? Apparently not. I thought he may with the Aphotic Shield, but he chooses to just play it safe. It looks like they'll just be satisfied having these heroes down on very low HP.
I think that's the right play. Like, if you do clean them off there, even if you do dive, you're going to expend a lot more in regen for yourself, and you give OGS a chance to get some free regen back in as they head back to the lane. Just keeping them here in this precarious situation, like Madara only has 2 tangos left, is a rougher spot. He's going to have to rely a lot on the timing of his time walk back, and that's a fairly long cooldown at level 1. Ooh.
Mid lane, Leo style, getting very low on the Pango. Chessie trying to find the kill. He's going for an X attempt, but Leo style just moving forward. Gets a disarm off. Still, X Torrent is going to be out from Chessie, but he really just isn't able to follow up thanks to that lucky shot of Leo style. Have to let it go as more swashbuckles fly out. That one will be juked out. Top lane, there are a lot of low heroes right now. Sibby was trying to go after MNZ. They almost ended up finding Z-Freak on the Rubik. Meanwhile, apparently Matthew gets Peksu down at the bot lane, but MJZ again going to be chased down. Sibby does pick up the kill on the Ogre. Now Z-Freak going to try and run away, but Rocket Barrage is there. Still, it's being shared between himself and Sibby. And Sibby again with another Fire Blast. Z-Freak, he doesn't have mana for the Fade Bolt, but it may not matter. MNZ, he does finally claim the kill, but Sibi will be able to essentially get a trade. The gold is split, but this is just such a huge win for OG.Seed. This Ogre, he's going to be a pretty big concern if this keeps up.
Definitely. He's having a good time up top. I think the biggest thing is that he slowed down the farm from this gyrocopter considerably, to the point that we're not going to be seeing that excellent timing we saw in game number 1. It's still not too bad just yet, but it's going to be a rougher time to recover from this one.
On bot lane, they ended up losing the Abaddon, almost lost the puck. We see the first boat of the game flying out in the mid lane onto, well, from Chessie. Leo Style completely juked it out and does give him the tip to remind him of the of that fact. Just goes straight back into that mid lane. Leo Style is getting very close to that point where he'll also have a Javelin up. Though mind that thought, because top lane, MNZ, gets pretty low. Sibi will also get fairly low, and they'll both just back off. MNZ commits a salve on himself. Sibi doesn't really have that luxury. He does have the passive regen with the Soul Ring, but Leo Style now going to rotate over. He does have Rolling Thunder and the Javelin, and it's going to be a very easy pick off onto the Ogre, and now Z-Freak going to try and run away. In fact, he's actually juking them out quite nicely in that tree line. Homing Missile is going to be there though. MNZ should have the lockdown and damage. Z-Freak, he delays it a little bit, but eventually does lose his life. Regardless, Frank also goes down at the bot lane. Peksu, the one to pick up the kill on the Grimstroke.
Yes, you do manage to trade offlaner for offlaner here. You get the added bonus of a support for Thunder Predator, so they're going to be slightly happier about that, of course. And that, again, we're seeing that early rotation coming out from Leo Style. We saw him do the same thing in game number 1. It does pay off, or at least taking some of the edge off from that Ogre Magi onto MNZ. And MNZ is... he's still kind of struggling even with that rotation. 20-3 right now at 7.5 minutes in. Has a lot of catch-up to play on this gyrocopter.
Certainly does. MJZ will come back in, ensuring that MNZ feels safe on this gyrocopter. Sibi just doesn't care. He'll just keep farming up the top by himself. It's Chessie. He's going to pick up an illusion rune. We haven't really seen a rotation out from this Kunkka yet. He has been freely farming the mid lane, especially once you saw the Leo-style Pango go up top. And speaking of top, Sibi falling quite low, but they have rotations, and MMZ is going to get caught out. Really has nowhere to go but down, and Z-Freak will be traded in return as Leo-style now does commit the Rolling Thunder once again. He does grab Peksu on the Grimstroke. There's just nowhere for Peksu to go, or maybe there is. He doesn't actually stop rolling. I thought he would just go for the easy swashbuckle kill, but Leo-style, he just kept going, John.
You don't stop, Mike. Remember the burnouts, Mike. You know, you never stop.
No.
Never stop.
Absolutely not. He will come back mid. Onto Chessie. Just annoy this Kunkka once again. Surprisingly enough, I mean, I thought the Kunkka would be on top of the net worth board considering how much CS he has, but it's actually Leo-style who's holding on to that net worth lead at 3.5k on the Pango. See how far he can keep this up. Of course, Pango, it has its power spikes, right? Like, you get the Javelin, you're super strong all of a sudden. Speaking of, they're going to jump onto the Kunkka, but no will rate to cancel the TP. But what I was trying to say, John, is eventually the Pango does tend to drop off a little bit, like especially once you get past that mid-game stage.
Yeah, like the Pangolier does kind of run out of steam. It really depends on itemization at that point and how much gold you can build up in that time span. But overall, you do lose a bit from the hero, and that is something that Thunder Predator has to keep in mind. They have to play a fast game here.
Fire Blast top lane, they're going to find this Lynch, and MJZ will go for the startling gaze just to hold Z-Freak in. Meanwhile, Madara gets Matthew down at the bot lane, but Sibi going to stun up this gyrocopter. Looks like Leo-style has actually died, and they will allow the Abaddon to TP out, though MNZ still going to be in trouble, still going to be chased down. In fact, never mind, they let him go. But 2 kills being found at the bot lane, 1 being found up at top. OG.Seed applying quite a bit of pressure as time goes on. In fact, Sibi, he was still looking for this gyrocopter. Couldn't quite get in range for the fire blast. Won't really mind though, he's just going to be able to clear out the jungle now. And he has queued up a Midas, so it seems like he is definitely happy with his start, and he wants to escalate things with that multicast Midas.
It's not going to be the fastest Midas timing for the core Ogre Magi that we've seen. It's still going to be fairly decent, all things considered. You do have a 4K lead advantage for OG.Seed as well. 10-6 up against Thunder Predator. And this is probably one of the bigger leads we've seen at this point in the game. It tends to be much more even, but there is a clear net worth advantage going the way of OG.Seed. A lot of that is riding off the back of Madara.
Oh, Madara, he just time walked. Silence is going to be there. He won't have time walk for another 7 seconds. And Thunder Predator, you couldn't have asked for a better time to run into this void. And again, Matthew gives him the tip back. I love it.
They had a ward to watch that as well from OG.Seed, so a bit unfortunate. Madara just managing, just getting punished with that rotation, and that's going to be a nice pick off for a Thunder Predator to have. Of course, that could allow them to get aggression going on that bot lane as well, but they lose their top tower for that.
Yeah, it looks like Chessie's going to X himself. They do fortify the creeps, so he won't exactly clear them out with the boat. So Thunder Predator back to it onto that tier 1. Perhaps OG.Seed just trying to apply a little bit of pressure onto the tier 2 now. They are making the run towards it. They are still very low level, so it's not like they're going to get that much damage out, but they could definitely do a little bit of chip damage. But Thunder Predator, rotate Frank up. Wrong Thunder. It was in the back, Leo style, doesn't commit it. Z-Freak does end up stealing Swashbuckle for himself. That'll be it, OG.Seed. They'll just go back. Sibi just throwing out one last stun onto Frank before he leaves. Or maybe not, he's going back in. You know, all of a sudden, Sibi is extremely close to that Midas now. Only needs a couple hundred gold. Is Frank going to get hit by this torrent? Doesn't have borrowed time available. He skills it up, but he was already dead. And it's really unfortunate. He was trying to skill it up mid-air, I believe, during the torrent, but it was just too much damage from Chessie. He does end up losing his life.
Yeah, rather unfortunate for Thunder Predator still. They did commit some TPs up there to try to turn that fight as well. They just lose their mid-tower.
And OG.Seed, they want more. Into this mid lane, though, of course, Thunder Predator are very well aware of their location. There will be no kind of mid-push coming up from OG.Seed. They're just going to go back to controlling this map up. Madara, looks like he has a Maelstrom on the way, or at least he has a Javelin up. And yeah, there is a full Maelstrom coming for Madara. And with that, I mean, he has Chrono. He hasn't really committed it too much this game. Perhaps with this little power spike that the Void has, you go look for a play with that Chrono.
Definitely. Smoke is bought up by Pexu, so it looks like they will want to make use of this small power spike they got from Madara to make the most out of it. And could be bad timing, Frank. Just walking around, scouting around just a bit. They are looking to apply some pressure on that tier 1 mid. They're just trying to even out the objectives here.
Chessie going to show himself. This could be very dangerous. Leo style jumps in but misses the swashbuckle. He'll go for the Rolling Thunder, but the boat already came out. It's going to tank up that Kunkka quite a bit. Even Sibi copping a stun on the way out. We'll throw an Ignite. That'll be it. Thunder Predator, they understand they can't force this fight. Chessie, he's going to have a look around for this puck. Matthew, he'll silence himself down the hill. Looks like he'll be fine as well. He'll go for the TP. Chessie, can you get an X off in time? Not quite. By the way, good news for Sibi. His first Midas usage, John, did indeed multicast. So he got 2 Midases out of that. And he's going to run straight into MNZ now.
Takes his creeps as well. At least a couple. So MNZ gonna have to share. Not a great spot to be in. Pexu's there as well to apply some damage if you're not careful.
Well, not really going to land. Sibby, he just backs off. Assuming Thunder Predator were close by, they didn't want to throw any kind of lives away. And they do have a 5k net worth lead, so giving any deaths will mean quite a lot of gold for Thunder Predator right now. They would be more than happy to oblige. Thunder Predator, they're just going to keep trying to play catch-up in this game. It's MNZ, he's getting close to the Maelstrom, but his net worth is really suffering. Only about 5.1k for him.
It's in stark contrast to game number 1, where he was kind of up there in terms of net worth. Now it does look to be an OG.Seed side. They have the farm, they have the control. They have a pretty significant farm advantage, actually, and they haven't quite leveraged that as high as you'd expect, but you know, they're all set to try to find more objectives on the map, although down mid, bit of a surrounding movement here.
Yeah, Chessie, he has the boat. Do they really have the damage? They're still going to chase him down. They get the Curse of Avernus off, but there's Sibby with the Fire Blast onto Frank. Rolling Thunder now, but the Soulbind comes out and he's stuck on the spot. He'll have to try and run away, but the Chrono comes out. Madara, he catches both of them into the Torrent and the boat of Chessie. This is really bad for Thunder Predators. They are going to continue to be chased down. Still Chain Frost bouncing around, but now Z-Freak. He's a cube just rolling around. This isn't how physics works, John, but it does in Dota, as they do end up finding MNZ, and it looks like Madara does get MJZ. What a team fight. They tried to go on the Kunkka with boat, and it turns out to be a very, very bad idea.
They've tried that multiple times before, and they can just, for the most part, never catch Chessie out as long as he gets the boat off. Really optimistic for them to try to go for that kill once more. We are also seeing the effects of clumping up together up against that Soulbind. Even a Pangolier isn't able to really get anywhere if you're not careful, so it's something to be conscious about now as the game goes on. And they are trying to make a move on Matthew, but
Matthew does get jumped on, but Leo style, he gets killed off. And just while we have a moment, John, Sibby's actually going for an Aghanim Scepter on this core ogre. I'm kind of shocked by that, because that unrefined Fire Blast does use a lot of mana. I thought maybe he would have gone for something a little greedier, considering he has the multicast minus. Do you agree with this Aghanim Scepter pickup?
I actually do. I like the Ag's Blast. I don't think it's something you expend in the middle of a early team fight, like while your mana pool's full. It's something you expend as the fight drags on, because you can always throw that stun out. And you have to remember, you get a lot more value with that Soulbind on. You're going to have a lot of damage coming out from this Ogre Magi now at a consistent state. He's not going to be limited by his mana pool. At the very least, that unrefined blast will always be there. So you can sustain these fights for much longer now as OG.Seed, and they might be able to catch Matthew out this time around.
Well, here it comes again, the rolling cube. They do get Matthew very easily. OG.Seed looking to go into that mid lane. They know Leo Styles there on the Pugna. Excuse me, the Pangolier. But they will not catch him out. And, well, OG.Seed, they'll continue controlling up this map. I mean, Thunder Predator, they're just kind of stuck. Like, you look over to the Gyrocopter, he's still just holding onto that Maelstrom. Trying to go after a BKB next, but even once you've got that BKB up, it just seems like they'll be lacking a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's definitely a much more defensive item build-up here from our Gyrocopter. Does feel like the damage is starting to lack. You're playing against a Kunkka, you're playing against a Void. These guys are tanky heroes. And it's going to be hard to find the damage coming out here from Thunder Predator for now, right? Like, their puck isn't quite there yet in terms of damage. Looks like Matthew is going for the pipe first, so more of a utility build on him, and he does get caught out by Chessie.
Yep, X Torrent. He does manage to orb away in time. MJZ was around the area just in case he needed help. Well, Z-Freak does spot him out as he tries to run down for a bounty rune. Gets lifted up. It is only Z-Freak, so I don't think he'll have the damage. And MJZ will successfully TP out on the Lich. Although, who have they caught? Leo Style on the Pangolier. Looks like he was trying to go after a bounty rune, but ends up paying for it. Doesn't get it anyway.
that's a bit rough. They keep losing Leo style like this. He's not having the best game right now, at the very least in this mid game. He's not having a great time. 3-4, and it's rough, right? Like, he needs to make space for the Gyrocopter. Although he needs farm as well. Like, as you mentioned, this guy has a very early timer on the Pangolier, and he really needs good itemization to keep him relevant.
Bot lane, they found the Void with the Dream Call. They have a double damage there on the puck as well. They're throwing everything at Madara, but he just got his BKB up as they tried to make that play. And Matthew,
Bash.
there it is, eventually comes out. That is just very unfortunate timing. Madara literally just got the courier with the BKB up. As top lane, at least they're going to find Peksu on the Grimstroke, or maybe they won't. Soulbind comes out with the Inkswalk connecting onto 3. Peksu
What?
just going to run away like this.
No.
Swashbuckle, he will get him eventually. Leo style, I don't think you have the right to tip that, sir. I really don't.
No, I think that's a tip of respect. You know,
I
it's
see.
not a BM tip. It's an actual tip. It's like, hey, nice play. I suppose he bought some time. He did have to expend his ultimate. That's not a short cooldown. So there is a bit of a period where OG won't have that available. These fights still.
They're going to make a chase. Sibi feeling confident. He does have the Ags up. MJZ will just TP out immediately on the Lich, but he's left Leo style by himself. Leo just going to hide in a tree, but Sibi just smells the Pangolier. Does jump out of the tree line. Sibi just not going to let him go.
Oh.
Again, back into the tree line. And that'll be enough. Sibi just leaves him be. He'll TP out eventually. Leo style. Still continuing to feel very, very confident on the Pango. Does have the Guardian Greaves up at least. But it seems like he's still stuck in the trees. Like, he just doesn't feel safe running out of this tree line yet.
Interesting choice, but I guess pangolins do like the forest, so makes perfect enough sense. Still OGS in the Roche pit, no contestation coming out from Thunder Predator, and that is going to be a free Roche going the way of Radiant side.
Free Roche indeed. OG.Seed take it with absolutely no kind of counter coming out from Thunder Predator. That'll give them a 12k net worth lead. And we'll have a quick look at the win probability now, and it is currently sitting at 87% the way of the Radiant. So I would say is fairly accurate, just based off how this game's going. Top lane, they are going to make a jump onto Leo style, and he was just trying to push out the waves. The tips come out immediately from OG.Seed.
Oh man, he was up there for such a long time.
Mid lane, Jesse looking for a Tidebringer hit, actually misses it on MJZ, or Aphotic Shield was there, I should say. So no damage being dealt, but Jesse looking for a Torrent, does barely miss. Gets an X off, but it does look like it's a bit unsafe to chase for that. I'll just let the Lich go.
Yeah, you'd figure at this point OGS should try to go a bit more aggressive. They've got the Mjolnir up on Madara. They've got Aegis up as well.
Oh, Matthew. Sibi just sneaks up behind him. Just stands there looking at him for a second and then stuns him up, and Matthew just could not react.
That's rare. Seeing an Ogre Magi take a solo pick off on a puck. I don't think I've ever actually seen that, so there it is.
They'll continue with the mid-tier 2 now. Madara, he has Chrono, he has Aegis, he has BKB and Mjolnir. He's feeling very, very confident to try and go for this push, though. Leo threatening with the Rolling Thunder, but not quite throwing it out yet. Now Frank jumping in, and Borrowed Time will be procced. Rolling Thunder, they really want Madara, but again the Soulbind into the Chrono and the boat. He's just stuck in the air right now. This is such an awkward position for Leo style. Still, he does manage to barely walk away, or maybe not. The bashes come out from Madara. Chain Frost. They do get Z-Freak on the Rubik. Sibi also falling quite low on the Ogre. He turns around for one final Fire Blast, but it's not going to be enough to take down the Lich. And Matthew going to chase after the Grimstroke. They have no way to cancel the TP. But I guess if you're Thunder Predator, you'd still be pretty satisfied with that.
Definitely. Like, you forced the buyback out from the Pangolier. You did manage to force a lot of usages of spells from Thunder Predator, so OGS is going to be pretty happy. Thunder Predator as well. They do manage to prevent the high ground push, so they're going to be happy as well. I think overall, though, it is a bit more of a win for OGS. Just the buyback being forced out will limit Thunder Predator's defense capabilities as the game goes on in the next 7 minutes at the very least.
OG.Seed not feeling like they need to back off yet. They want to continue trying to find pickoffs in this dire side jungle. They do still have the Aegis on Madara. He never lost it. So they're looking to try and make another push happen, perhaps before that Aegis does expire. Of course, Thunder Predator are making it rather difficult by split pushing all the lanes out and forcing them to defend. Having a look back over to MNZ, who we haven't really looked at in a while. In fact, never mind, because Leo style. Sibi again catching out the Pango in the same spot. And mid lane, MJZ goes down on the Lich. They just can't seem to catch a break on the side of Thunder Predator.
Yeah, it looks like the exact opposite of game 1 this time for Thunder Predator. 24-10, 18k net worth lead going the way of the Radiant. OGS having a real good time. They will go into that high ground. They force the buyback out from the Lich, but the Pangolier has been buyback.
X going to be there. The Abaddon will get the borrowed time off. Madara just going to hit away at that tier 3 as they do get an X-Torrent boat onto that Abaddon, and he is going to get bursted down very quickly. You've got Chrono back up in 5 seconds to boot. So OG.Seed may find no reason to leave this mid lane. Frost Shield will slow things down a little bit, but no, they're going to feel confident enough. They keep going and they get the Chrono straight onto that Gyrocopter. The Startling Gaze is going to slow things down for Madara. He'll just BKB up. BKB there from the Gyro, but they get soulbinded anyway. And Madara, he's just not done, just bashing away, and eventually does find the kill onto MNZ. They found Frank again as well on the Abaddon. And now you've got Madara back up. At least Sibi does go down, and perhaps they even lose Peksu. In fact, never mind. He's going to survive. The boat flies in, and Matthew does go. Leo Style will clean up the Grimstroke, but it doesn't matter. He's been X'd up. There was no torrent from Chessie. He had no mana for it. And you know what? Thunder Predator, they hold on to that mid-Rax.
They definitely do. It does come at the cost of 2 buybacks once more. In fact, if you count the Lich buyback, I suppose that counts 3 buybacks costing there. So Thunder Predator again getting severely limited as the game goes on for their defensive options as time passes, at least for the next 7 to 10 minutes. Not going to have the best times if that high ground is sieged up again. At the very least, they did expand the Aegis of OGS, so you're not going to have to worry about that coming out of our Faceless Void anymore. It was just about to expire anyway, I reckon, so gonna have to see how quick that Roche will respawn before OGS can kind of contest for that kind of objective again. They does look like they are playing around the Aegis. They're not playing too aggressive without it. At the very least, Madara is not too far forward, although.
Yeah, he may get caught out, MNZ. Spots him out. Homing Missile will follow, but Madara is within safety's range. X, Chessie, looks to set up now on MNZ. Torrent is going to connect. Madara doesn't have Chrono to use. This could be a very dangerous team fight for OG. Thunder Predator, though, knowing the Chrono is down, may want to try and force this. As they do, Matthew will jump in. Dreamcall committed onto 2, but the boat flying in again. And Leo Style, he just cops the boat straight to the face. Now they'll go after MNZ. Again, the bash is coming out from Madara. And MNZ, it really doesn't matter if you have a BKB, as they're just going to bash you through it. It's a 3-for-1 trade. As Frank is still being chased down. Sibi finds Matthew on the puck. And there's Frank getting X'd up. Chessie will not connect with the torrent. But there's 4 heroes down with no buyback, and that's going to be a guaranteed Rax, maybe even 2.
Yeah, they've got the double damage up on Madar as well. So they could probably just rush, I suppose, if they wanted, but it looks like they will play it safe. Go for the Raxus instead. Gonna be a fairly quick take once the creeps are in. In fact, they're going for tier 4s, really.
Yeah, there's a Deso coming out on Chessie. He'll just X back, get the Deso up, and yeah, with the double damage, with the Bloodlust, it looks like they are going to have enough. And that's it. There's no way to defend this. The DC immediately from Leo style, the GG's been called, and that is it. A 1-to-1 chrono around the Ancient, just in case the Ancient intended on trying to run away. And so, a 1-to-1 between Thunder Predator and OG.Seed. Yeah. And if you are a Thunder Predator fan, it isn't over for tonight. They are going to be back for our next series, John, where they'll be versing EG.
Yeah, that's going to be it's going to be as exciting this one as, of course, we have been treated with draws for the entire night so far. We'll see if that does keep up pace here as Thunder Predator does go against EG. Of course, very good showing from both teams in this series. OG.Seed having a bit of a rough game 1, but showing up in game number 2, and Thunder Predator looking amazing in game number 1, but kind of falling flat in game 2. We'll see whether or not that will carry over to I believe, our last series to cover for the tournament, Mike, at least for today.
Yeah, definitely so. We'll be right back with that third series. It is MLP Dota and John X Fire. We'll see you all again very, very soon for the final series of the night.